Our next speaker is Harman Nahal, MA candidate in archaeology, supervised by Dr. Hugo Cardoso. And the title of Harman's talk is Detecting Intentional Injuries in Children, a study of biomechanical rib fracturing using juvenile pigs.
The death of a child is a tragic and traumatic event, but the uncertainties that come along with not knowing what caused the death can be even more painful for the child's loved ones. We know that violence occurs every day and on a global scale. And unfortunately, children are sometimes the victims of lethal violence and abuse. In these types of international humanitarian cases, forensic death investigators are able to use various tools and techniques, such as fracture patterns, to address some of these unknown questions. Fracture patterns are a fundamental forensic analysis that can be used in identifying lethal injuries, the direction of the impact, and the velocity at which the impact occurred. However, little information is known how these specific fracture patterns inform the cause and manner of death. Therefore, the purpose of my research project is to analyze the effects of high and low velocity trauma to the juvenile torso to investigate how injuries to the torso can inform the cause and manner of death. The torso is important to study because it is the second most likely body part to be injured due to trauma, but it is the first to go unnoticed. So, how will I conduct my project? I will be using deceased juvenile pigs as a proxy to the injuries that will be inflicted onto human children rib cages. This is because the size and immaturity of these two skeletons are comparable. I'll be using a mechanical drop tester to assess the impact of force velocity along 3 different anatomical positions. From here, the rib cage will be suspended on a vertical mount and dropped onto the below impact surface. By comparing the injuries inflicted across these 3 planes and the impact of the drop, I will be creating a baseline study to assess what intentional fracture patterns to the torso looks like. In children, rib fractures are uncommon. However, when they are present, they are generally linked to some form of intent, such as abuse. This is why my project is significant, because forensic death investigators will be able to use the fracture pattern analyses to differentiate between intentionally and accidentally inflicted wounds. Additionally, it will provide a better understanding of the mechanisms of rib fracturing in children that result in death. And finally, with my project, I hope to restore justice for the victims and families of child abuse and violence by providing the families some of the answers they need during this difficult time. Thank you.